Good morning and welcome to Beyond Barriers Unscripted. This is episode 3. I want to introduce today's guest, and this is a fellow I met a couple years ago. His wife is actually one of my co-workers, and we met through just playing music together. And the more time I spend with this guy, it's a pretty incredible person. His ability to adapt and to just move through and inspire others is really, really cool. So Mr. James Kubel, I call him Jim. I guess I'm special, but Jim, how you doing?
Pretty good. And you are special, Randy. So where do we begin with all this? In 1969, I was diagnosed with diabetes type 1, and it's what caused my blindness. But, you know, it also was an important time in my life because, you know, I was just 4.5 years old, and I remember vividly wanting to spend the night at my cousin's. And my mom had said, well, if you can't draw up your own insulin and take your own injections, you can't go. So by the time I was 5, I was drawing up my own injections of insulin and managing my diabetes. And part of that was really because of my mom, because she was pretty fierce about, she was told that I would not survive to make my 20s. And here I am, I'm 55 years old. I've had the disease for 51 years. And for those that can do the math, they can figure out how old I am. Anyway, but that started my own crusade of having to fight for something I wanted. And later, when I finally lost my sight in 1993, and I went total, I started having visual complications in 1986. And I had graduated high school, I was in college, and during that time in my life, I didn't want anybody to know. And Randy, you and I have talked about this with your visual impairment, that, you know, you kind of fake it till you make it. You didn't want, you know, I don't know if it was a pride issue, but I was studying electrical engineering, and I didn't want somebody to think that I got a free pass. Is probably the most accurate description of where my mind was. But it also caused me a lot of headache during that time. And in 93, when I went totally blind, I would have to say that there was some relief. I mean, I couldn't hide behind it anymore. For sure, it was blatantly obvious.
How old were you?
I was 29.
Okay.
So, and I, you know, I was driving, I was going to work, everything. I just landed a job with IBM. I just got hired. I was on the top of the horse. I felt great. I thought, okay, even though I got this vision problem, you know, and that was right before I went total. I got the job, and 2 days before I was supposed to start, I had to call IBM, and I said, I can't make it. I went blind, you know, and they thought I was joking, you know, but it was the truth, you know. And I wished, you know, I look back at those times and I wish that I could have showed up, you know. But
so just a second. So it was a really, really rapid onset of blindness.
It happened very quickly, and there was something else that went on that still to this day tends to upset me, and that is that, you know, I was a very strict diabetic, and, you know, I mean, I weighed all my food, you know, and when the medical field kind of looked at me like, well, you must be doing drugs, or, you know, if you're blind, you did something wrong. When that wasn't the case, I didn't feel that way at all. It was the disease. And diabetes does take its toll on anybody who has it. And, I felt judged. And that's the best way to describe it. When I felt my character was being judged, when it wasn't truly accurate. I worked very hard at trying to maintain my health, and I felt like I was being penalized by the medical field as far as the efforts I was putting in.
And so how do you come to a place of acceptance and deal with that?
Well, I think a lot of it, it was about a year ago. My doctor made a statement to me that kind of leveled the playing field. He said, I'm going to be honest with you. I will never know as much about diabetes as you do. And I've lived with it for over 50 years. And I have studied it intensely. And I've had some really great discussions with doctors. But at that moment when he said it, I kind of thought about it. No, I'm not a doctor. But I've spent a lifetime at studying it, and I know a lot about it. In fact, in 2009, I developed a product called the PumpMate, which is a remote control for allowing a blind person to use an insulin pump. Still to this day, it's the only one ever created. And, I have a lot of passion for accessibility and making things accessible for the blind. It's part of my life, but it's also part of my passion. And, it's that resistance in accessibility of insulin pumps still drives me today, because it's the companies still don't want to put that responsibility in the hands of blind diabetics out of fear of lawsuits, really, is what it comes down to. And those of us that are blind, we know that we're fully capable. We're not dumb people. We'll be responsible, but you gotta give us a chance. So it's still actually an ongoing fight I have today, because when I started that project, I got a huge response from the public, and I told them that I will never stop the fight in making pumps accessible. I'll eventually win it. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but it's an ongoing fight that I still fight today.
Another thing that we share in common is being a parent. And how's that been, being a blind parent?
Being a parent was really, I guess it kind of grounded me. I knew it was something I wanted to do. And of course, blindness threw me a curveball. I wasn't afraid of us having the child as much as I was afraid of me being a good father as a blind dad, and that you can understand that fear, Randy. I don't know if you ever felt that yourself, but it's something I definitely felt. And go ahead.
I just remember wanting to play catch with my kids. The other dads would be out there, and I wasn't really good at it. So,
and I'm not either, Yeah. And my son would get frustrated, Dad, you're way off. Yeah. Well,
and as a parent, you carry that.
You do.
You do, and it's just, and that has nothing to do with being blind. That's just being a parent. When you feel somebody's, that you're having an effect on somebody else's life that you care about. You know what I mean?
And I think I think there were different rewards for me. I mean, especially when my son came around and started to realize the fight I was against,
Mm-hmm.
Not our family, but both his parents are blind, and we've had to go through acceptance and things like that as people. But really, our biggest fight, and it still remains today, is society and the pressures that that they don't even know that they put on blind people over the fact that, it's harder for us to get jobs. It's harder, and as a parent, we worry about things like that. We want to give all the opportunities we can to our children, and yet we fight those kind of problems. And out of all of them, I think that's the one that has affected me the most, is that, I want to have a nice home for my family and be able to provide for my son. And at times money's gotten very tight. And, prior to blindness, I knew that if I had money problems, that just meant I had to work harder, work more. But getting the work was never an issue. And when I went blind, I made calls and calls didn't get returned. And that was hard.
Yeah.
And so, but here we are today, and I think that, my journey has been a love-hate relationship, if you will. It's been educational, and, my passion, as I mentioned to you before, has been in electronics. And so, that was something I started when I was 8 years old, playing with electronics, and I knew very young that I wanted to be an engineer. So what did I do? I had to reinvent myself to fit and do things that I could still make money at and be successful as a blind person. And so that's what I did.